Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl.
Hi, friends.
Hello.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. We were just talking about like how we never know how to start
Yeah.
these things. And like, it's funny because like I've been an avid podcast listener for like over a decade now. And a lot of the podcasts I listen to, like they've been going on for about that long.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times like they'll still be like, I don't know how to start this. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. And now I know.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I'm like, especially because it's 1:34 right now. We've been on since 11:20 just talking. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you just transition?
Yeah. Let me just transition real quick into like this hyper focused conversation that we're supposed to have, which like maybe that's why it's hard for us to start, because I feel like we don't really have like hyper focused conversations. Like, I mean, I guess we do, but they end up kind of
ballooning into other.
There's a lot of tributaries, as I like to say.
Well, somehow
I
would say 99% of the time we'll like start on one thing, go off on a wild tangent of like 5 to 10 other semi-connected things.
Yes.
And at some point one of us will be like, how did we get here? And then we always bring it back.
Always.
And I don't know how.
I don't either. What I love though is there's probably a lot of, especially like the ladies listening, there's probably a lot of ladies that are like, yup, that's my relationship too. I feel like that's like a very common like how like females interact like with each other.
Absolutely. It's funny because we in my family, I think you know this, we've all realized we all have like some kind of weird superpower. So like my mom's superpower, she always finds parking. Like always finds parking. David's is he has great line luck. So like we'll go to like a coffee shop or like whatever, and we'll be like first or second in line. And then like as we get up to the front, like there'll be like a huge ass line behind us, like suddenly. So that's his. I'd yet to figure out mine. And I think maybe this is it.
Yeah.
The whole remembering whatever, like how we got to here.
Yes.
In a conversation. I think that might be my luck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that could definitely be your superpower. I think also just your ability to like remember very specific situations.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty fascinating. Like Ariel won't remember that she's told you the same story before.
Yep.
But
I'll remember the story.
But she'll remember the story in vivid detail. In fact, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but sometimes I play a game when you start telling me a story that I've already heard before, and I won't tell you that you've told me it before. And I really like to see how similarly you'll tell the story. And I swear to God, it's like you're reading off a script. It's incredible. Yeah. Like you will almost do it like word for word, like the same way. It's really quite impressive.
Why do you think I'm a writer?
No, but that's what I was going to say is like, I feel like that's the reason why like you're so good at like writing stories, because there's like you have a very like vivid memory when it comes to like very specific things, which I think is like pretty fascinating.
I love that. That's a little game you've created for yourself. Like that's so fucking funny.
It is. I have quite a good time doing it, I'll be honest.
I bet.
Well, because I mean, normally what happens is it'll be almost word for word, but then there'll be like one kind of like new bit that wasn't in like the last one. And so like it's always worth listening to it a second time. Or like a lot of the time what I'll say to Ariel is I'll be like, I think you have told me, but just like keep going. Because I normally, right? Like that's a very common thing I say to you. And it normally is because there's like there's a few new bits of info that will kind of come up. But yeah, it's totally a game that I do.
Oh my God. It's like, I feel like it's like rereading the mass verse, and you realize a new thing each time. Oh my God. Which I mean, I feel that's like the perfect segue into my Cauldron Save Me of this week. one of our rad listeners named Annie Quinlan on TikTok at AnnieQ_17. We had this great back and forth on it was the clip that we posted. I won't go into detail because it was from a spoiler episode. All I have to say was about the Starlight Pool from one of the last episodes when they go to the Glen.
Mm-hmm.
And Annie brought up some amazing, or one particular amazing theory about how the massverse
Yeah.
connects, is how I'll phrase
Yeah.
it, and sent me this really amazing TikTok from Sarah's Sublime Reads. Their TikTok is at Sarah Travis 09. And if you've read, I would say the entire massverse,
Yeah.
but definitely Akatar and Crescent City for sure, go check out this TikTok. It's from, I think, like January of 2024, so it's a little bit old, but this blew my
Yeah.
mind. Like, it truly, you know how like there's theories out there, whether it's like related to the massverse or not, where you're like, that's a fun theory, but like I don't know how realistic
Yeah.
this is gonna pan out.
Yeah.
This was not. This was like, I absolutely think this is what's going
Yeah.
on.
No, totally. When you sent it to me, because I'm always very skeptical, I always feel like
Yeah.
everyone is trying to search for any ridiculous connection and just like, oh, his shoulder was up like this in this chapter, and then this
Yeah.
character did this in this book. I'm like, all right, guys, like we're grasping at straws here. But
Oh
this
yeah.
one, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I see this. I see this. And again, Ariel already said it, but like definitely only look up this girl, which she warns you a lot, but like if you've
Yeah.
read the majority of the massverse, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of like kind of like, I mean, I guess not like wild spoilers, but it's more like you won't really know who she's talking about unless you've read like
Right.
all of
Like
them.
Throne of Glass you can maybe get away with if you haven't read it.
Yeah.
I would still say be careful.
Yeah.
You have to have read Crescent City to
Yes.
understand
Yes,
this
you
theory
absolutely
for
do. Yeah, because
sure.
you just won't understand. I don't know if it
Right.
necessarily things will be like wildly spoiled for you. It's just that you just won't really understand what she's saying. But yeah, I'm game, and like thank you, Annie, for
Yeah.
sending that video. And then I haven't seen the most recent one that you said that she sent.
Yeah.
But
Oh, it's so
it's just
good.
it's so cool, and it's exciting because it's like exactly what Ariel and I wanted from like this process, which was just to
Yeah.
connect with the other people who are just as insane about this world as we are. And so it's
Yeah.
really fun to like have those kinds of conversations and just to share this really nerdy, beautiful space. And so, keep them coming. Like I
Hell
think that's
yeah.
so cool. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sending.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm totally game with this theory as well.
So
So
cool.
it's pretty fascinating.
Side note, I really want to know if Annie's last name is
Yeah.
actually her last name,
Quinlan.
or if this is a Bryce
Yeah.
Quinlan
Yeah,
reference.
me too.
Either way, fucking rad.
Oh yeah, great name.
So,
Great name either way. Yeah.
huge Bryce Quinlan fan,
Yes.
Defender.
Defender.
I don't know why Bryce gets a lot of hate
Well,
online, and I'm a huge Bryce defender.
yeah.
I get why, but also I'm like, have
But
y'all ever heard of Black Girl Summer?
well,
That's
I mean,
Bryce Quinlan.
for me, it's like you just need to keep reading.
Yeah.
You just need to keep reading.
Yeah.
Like trust me, I was probably unfortunately, I was probably one of those haters when I first started reading, for sure.
Fair.
But keep going. I mean, literally just get to like chapter 2 or 3 and you'll probably feel very differently about her. So
Yes.
just, yeah, well, that's adorable. My Cauldron Save Me is just like such like first world problem hilariousness. I broke the charging cable to my phone, like in my phone. So I had a portion of the charging cable, like tip, stuck inside the port of my phone. So I could only charge it if like it would still charge, but it had to be that cable that was partially broken. And I had to like twist the cable around. It needed like special tension and like all this stuff. And my wonderful fix-it partner kept being like, babe, just like give me your phone for a little bit so I can just like mess with it. And me being who I am, there was never a moment that he could have the phone for an hour, which is ridiculous because like he totally could have. But so I had therapy yesterday. While I was in therapy, I gave him my phone. I come out and this dude had already fixed it, had already plugged it in for me so it could be charging. And I was like, "Let me guess. Did you solve it in like 5 minutes?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "Yep." He had already done research. Like yesterday he was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, apparently this is like a really normal, like this is you're not alone. This has happened to a lot of other people. So I have like a few steps I can try before we know that you need to like take it in."
Oh my
And
god.
I come out and it's all fixed and he's like, "Yeah, it took me like 5 minutes with like some tweezers and some shit." I'm like, "Oh my god. Like what? Dear Lord."
National treasure Jeff.
Exactly. We've called
Like,
him that for years, and
for
seriously, well, and what's
years.
so funny too is like I'm sure I could have done that. Like, but I think it's because like every now and then I kind of giggle to myself. Like it's that classic partner thing where like if you're alone, like you could solve everything,
Yeah.
right? But it's like the
Yep.
minute you're kind of safe space, like your partner is like around,
Yeah.
you kind of
Yes.
forget how to be like an independent person. And when it
Yep.
comes to like kind of fix it electronic stuff like that, I like, because I have Jeff in my life, I like
Yep.
just don't, I'm like, Jeff will fix it. Like he's just,
I'm the
I
same
know he'll
exact way
do
with
it.
David.
So I'll just, and I think it's that there's been times where he has watched me try to fix like my electronic stuff like by myself, and it like causes him so much like stress sometimes. He'll just be like, "Just let me do it. Just let me do it. Just let me do it."
Yep.
Because he also grew up in like an engineer family where he literally grew up
Right.
like pulling apart cameras and computers like with his dad and his grandpa
Right.
like for fun. So like that's just like his brain's like kind of already there. But yeah, sweet Jeff fixed it in like, I don't even think it was 5 minutes. I think he spent like 2 minutes on
Of
it.
course.
But
Like, that's not at all shocking. Like, it's so funny, like, when you were saying, like, the whole, like, fix it, like, mode, I get the same way with
yeah,
David. Like, he is by far like, he's an editor, right? Like, he deals with technological stuff on a daily basis, and, like, it's one of those moments where, like, it's, like, in a very benign way where I'm like, "Oh, I'm a bad feminist," because, like, things I can do myself tech-wise, I'm just like,
yeah,
"David, like, can you please do this for me?"
yeah, yep, yep,
So, I completely get it. Yeah, our partners are, I feel, very similar
yeah,
in that way,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's like so funny though, right? Is, I would say that we actually are very like self-sufficient like women.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think it's just that idea of like when you don't really like have to about certain
Yeah.
things, you kind of are like,
Yep.
"Mm."
Well, and I feel like, whether it's that or, like, other, areas of life, when you are self-sufficient, it's like you're so tired
Yeah,
by
exactly.
everything else that you're like, "Okay, someone else can take care of
Yeah.
this. My partner can take
No,
care of
exactly.
this." Speaking of
I
romance.
know. Oh, this
Oh,
chapter
what a
is
chapter.
just, it's so it's so cute.
It's so
It's
pure.
very pure, which is funny
Like,
because she, like, gets drunk off fairy wine.
oh, we'll get to the fairy wine.
Yeah, I know we will, but yeah, this chapter is just really cute, like, and, just like a friendly reminder of everyone of where we just came from. So, like, the chapter right before, right, was, like, so the last 2 chapters were, like, the glamour comes off, blah, 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 and then there was the head in the garden. And so it's like a
Yeah.
pretty, it ends off like the last chapter ends off feeling like, Feyre is not, she's not in a great place. She's really discovering like, okay, yeah, there was a lot the glamour was like hiding for me, which, we had our own feelings about, but that also meant that there was some of the scarier stuff that Feyre wasn't really seeing. And it just kind of
Yeah.
feels like she just got really shoved into it. Um, so yeah, like that's where we left off for them. And so,
Yes.
this chapter starts with like, I wrote this quote down because I just think it's kind of funny because it says, Tamlin was called away to one of the borders hours after I found that head. Where and why he wouldn't tell me. And I'm a little like, baby girl, I feel like it probably has to do with the head. Like I
Yeah.
don't like, I love how she's just like, you know, but I mean, she does follow it up with like, I sensed enough that it was like, the blight and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, but do you really like, there's no way that it's not related to this head right away. Like Tamlin's going to
Right.
want to deal with this, he's going to want to kind of like throw his weight around a little bit and just kind of figure out like, kind of remind people that like, you can't mess with the spring court right now.
Yeah. Well, it brings up a really interesting, I think, character trait of Feyre of like, and it's something she's having to learn, I think, of like she is such a doer.
Mm.
She's had to do for so many years to keep her family alive. So like when other people are the ones doing and she doesn't have to, she gets kind of antsy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Which I think we're gonna see we're gonna see the results of that later on. And it's pretty interesting. But yeah, she's having to learn. I think we talked about this before, like having to receive rather than to
Yeah.
do. I mean, she also gets antsy about he spends his first night away from
Yeah.
her, which is interesting,
Mhm.
especially because he sends Lucian back to tell her that, hey, don't worry, he's alive. Which is just like it really is a
Yeah.
marker for where they are in their, we'll call it a situationship for now.
Yeah.
Although, well, I
I
guess
feel like
at
we can
this
call
point
it
we can
a relationship.
in this
Yes,
chapter,
in this
yes.
chapter.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can definitely start calling it a relationship. But I think before that moment, there's still in the situationship
Yeah.
of like it's that classic thing of like, are we together? Are we
Yeah.
not together? Like what how does he feel? How does she
Yeah.
feel? And like they're very clearly like to us it's
Oh,
obvious,
yeah.
right? Like we know where this is going. But just putting myself in Feyre's shoes, like, I've been there where it's like, I don't know what we are yet.
Yeah.
Like, and so him having the foresight to, like, be like, "Hey, let me send my boy back
Yeah.
to tell her, hey, I'm good." Like, it's just very
It's
sweet.
very sweet because it's him clocking that this is the first time he's ever been away since she's been
Yeah.
at the manor.
Yeah.
And it's very cute because it's like it's him just being like, "Please just go tell Feyre." Like, I have a feeling she's, like, freaking out. I mean, I think also it's a little bit of this reminder too of, like, whatever he does when he goes away is, like, not chill. Like, because they
Yeah.
even the wording here is like Lucian had emphasized that last word, right? That he was alive. Like
Right.
enough to kind of make her like she said, like she sleeps terribly and all this stuff. And we know, like, we've dealt with him going away for the bog. We've dealt with like some of this stuff, but I think we kind of forget in some of these other chapters when he's just been like gone dealing with something during the day and he sort of like comes back. I forget, and even as a rereader, I forget that like these are like he's probably like fighting, or like these are
Yeah.
potentially like, because I think a lot of the time I think that he's just like doing like courtly
Right.
discussions with another high fae, and like that it's a
Right.
lot of like whining and but no, I realize like because of this blight and all of this stuff, it's probably pretty violent or kind of scary. And so
Yeah.
you I definitely forget about that. And so yeah, like it feels like it's very important that she knows that like he is alive, because on their
Yes.
end it might have been touch and go there for a second, which is
Right.
terrifying. But I think even like she kind of like breaks this down in her head too, right? Of like, oh, he
Yeah.
sent Lucian to tell me.
Mhm.
And she's just kind of like, okay, like, yeah, she's like, some part of me marveled at that. But the thing I loved was that she basically was like, I knew I was headed down a path that would likely end in my mortal heart being left in pieces. And
Yeah.
this is really like the first time that we're getting Feyre pretty bluntly being like, it's not just a physical attraction. Like,
Yeah.
she's into this dude. This is pretty much the
Girl is
closest.
down
She's
bad.
down bad. Like, this is like the closest we have gotten so far to even being like, oh, she might like be in love with him.
She even mentioned, I think in the previous chapter, whenever he gives like the full detail about mates, she's like, I wondered if humans and fae could be
Yeah,
mates. And it's like,
exactly. Yeah,
whoa.
yeah, I remember us talking about that because it was kind of, she's like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask him if that's a thing. And you're like, oh
Yeah.
girl, the fact that you're thinking
Yeah.
about that, like, ooh da lolly.
It's like the Prithian version of like a girl making a Pinterest board of her
Yeah.
wedding after like the first fucking date. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
exactly. And I also think the word choice of mortal heart, I think, is like
yeah.
wildly important because it's her also acknowledging that she's very aware that she does not have the lifespan of him. And so it kind of
Yes.
shows this very like forward thinking, this she's thinking of the future of them together,
Yeah.
right? Like she's being
Yep.
like, she's not necessarily saying her heart's going to be broken because like he isn't gonna love her. It's more of this like her mortal heart might be broken because like maybe they can't be together because he is a fae. And so it's just it shows a
Yes.
lot in this little sentence. And then she also kind of proceeds to fall into this place of just thinking about like, it makes her sick to her stomach to, like, think about what Prithian is, this world, and
Yeah.
it gave me this note of, like, the stakes feel and not about love, but just, like, what day-to-day life is with these fae from what she has observed, like, the stakes feel so
Yeah.
much higher here, like, the level of danger, the lives
Oh, yeah.
involved, the amount of lives involved, it's so much higher than just her going and hunting to, like, give food for her family. Like, that's still
Right.
huge, but it's just it what she's dealing with or what she's observing in Prithian feels very it's like that, like, tenfold. And
Yes.
it's interesting her response, like, because I think what I'm trying to get to is I think it's also really her really starting to think about this being her life, this being her
Yeah.
future. She's really settling into this space and she's kind of realizing, like, this makes me sick to my stomach, but, like, this might be, like, I may need to get used to this, you know?
Yeah, this might be my
Yeah.
home. Well, and I remember when I first read this, definitely by this point, it might have been a little bit earlier. I was thinking like, okay, Feyre is a survivor, right? Like, I have no doubt she can adapt to whether or not she has doubts about herself. Like, I think she can adapt to the craziness of Prithian,
Yes.
right? With all these different types of Fae and whatnot. But the one thing I can't work out in my head is the mortality
Yeah.
difference, right? Like, Tamlin, I mean, like, we do know Fae can die if they're killed, but like, unless they are mortally wounded,
Yeah.
like they don't really, as far as we know, like, die of old age or
No.
anything like
Yeah.
that. And they also like, what's gonna happen when like she's an old granny and
Yeah.
he still looks the same
Yeah.
age, right? Like, how are we going to address that? And that is something that's gonna come up throughout this
Right.
book for sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's already thinking about it, I mean, again, girls down bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I get it. It's especially because we gotta remember we're still in this sort of like, it's ambiguous, but it feels like very like 1800s-y
Yeah.
time where it's like, a man being the partner of an old lady, like a young man being the partner of an old lady would not bode well,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's not like modern times where it's like, you see like 6-year-olds dating 30-year-olds,
Right. Right. Right.
like that doesn't exist
Yeah.
here. So how are we going to deal with
Yeah.
that, right? So yeah, it's going to come up for sure.
Mhm.
We then, first off, little note I wanted to say, I love that we find out that Alice's people are called wisps.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Well, no, so it's, it's Urisk.
Oh, you know what? Thank you. My notes auto corrected to whisk.
Yeah, yeah. No, which is fair. That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But yeah, they're called the Urisk. Yeah, I liked that
Urisks,
too. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, that's a fun little
Yeah.
gift of info."
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't think this spoils anything. We don't really like that's like the one and only time we ever really know anything about Alice's people as a whole.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but I like it's just another
Yeah.
little feather in Sarah J. Maas's hat of the world building,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
But the other thing, because Alice is dressing Feyre in this scene, and we find out that because she's seen some stuff getting set up and whatnot, and we find out it's for the summer solstice.
Mhm.
Which, fun fact, I wanted to note: today is June 21st. Yesterday was the actual summer solstice
Woo!
here. And that was like, we didn't plan
Nope.
that. Like, that was a happy little
Happy
accident. So I
accident.
thought that was really
Yep.
cute. As a summer born
Yeah.
baby, love the summer solstice, love summer, as hot as it gets, especially here in LA.
Yeah.
But summer solstice is a fun one. Every year I say I'm gonna do a bonfire and I never fucking do. But 1 year,
1 year.
1 year I'll do it. But yeah, so everyone's prepping for this big summer solstice party that they're gonna have that night. If you're not familiar, I think they talk about in this chapter, the summer solstice is the longest night of the year.
Yeah.
So after basically from the spring equinox through summer solstice, or around the spring equinox, the days start getting longer. Longest day of the year, summer solstice, and then weirdly enough, the days start getting shorter after that, which is like always such a trip to me because I'm like, every time I think of summer, I think of like July and
Yeah.
August. even though technically the days are getting shorter
Yep.
from June on.
Yeah.
So it's always a funny thing to me. But yeah, so getting ready for the summer solstice party.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's like, oh, and like she's not quite dressing yet.
Oh,
It's
right.
yeah, yeah. But it's Farrah's first, she wakes up to, I don't know, drums or fiddling. She wakes up to fiddling, which is,
That's right.
it's just kind of funny, right? Like,
Yeah.
because, we learn later that Tamlin, like we know Tamlin can play, and we learn later that he's like a part of the group. Like, I don't imagine that it's Tamlin yet playing. I
No,
imagine that it's
unless
just,
he's warming up.
yeah, which is possible. But
Yeah.
I do think like he's still away, I feel, at this point, right? Because we haven't
Yeah.
really heard him yet or whatever. But it is interesting because she starts talking about the summer solstice. We find out Feyre gets to go.
Yeah.
Thank God. My goodness.
And it's so funny because, like, I think she says to
Yeah.
Lucian, yeah, she's like, "I'm surprised I'm even allowed to participate tonight."
Yeah.
And then Lucian goes, "Unfortunately for you and your neck," which, like, sassy
Fucking
Lucian
Lucian.
coming out again,
Jesus.
like,
Just such a little shit. But like I love it. It's so funny.
I
It's
love
just, oh
it.
my God. But what's interesting is Alice bringing up that it's summer solstice. We get
Yeah,
another trigger moment for Feyre
yeah,
of realizing time has passed
yeah,
and that she has been here for a long time. Like,
yeah,
because she even said, she's like, in the weeks that I'd been painting and dining with Tamlin and wandering the courtlands at his side, summer had come. This quote I wrote down just because I love it when writers tell us what our characters have been doing while time has been passing,
yeah,
because you're not going to get every conversation that these people have together. Like, that's just not going to happen. And so you get this really cute image of like how adorable this, like, it feels very like summer vacation romance vibe of like,
yeah.
you guys are just like, you're having picnics and you're just sort of gallivanting about. Like, honestly, it brings me back to this headspace of how like Feyre just wanted to retire. Like, this sounds like a retired
Yeah.
couple, like, even though Tamlin is
Yes.
not retired at all, but it's just like, I don't know, it's
Right.
this, she's painting and she's having nice dinners and she's viewing this lovely world, but then it ends with this like, oh, but summer has come. And so it's this other
Yeah.
reminder that like, fuck, it's summer now. She's been
Yeah.
gone for a long time, and it's this other
Yeah.
question of like, does her family still really believe that she's with this aunt? Like, it's just
Right.
this another little moment for Feyre of like, right. It's just kind of like slap back to reality of that the
Yeah.
world is still turning. And what I think is interesting about this time though is like she doesn't really seem to like descend into the kind of panic that she kind of did the last time she gets this reminder of time. She just literally has this one blip of like, do they really think I'm still gone? Like, what are they doing? And then she very quickly moves on to like, what would they be doing for summer solstice? And I think it's interesting just because we have talked about how we know there's not a lot of celebrations in like the mortal world or the
Right.
whatever. And like she has this moment, she's like, if it was solstice, there'd be a small gathering, nothing religious, of course.
Right.
Though the children of the blessed might wander in to try to convert the young people. But it's like we do get this little blip of like, okay, like the human world does still have celebrations of some kind. They're just more around like seasons and not
Yeah.
really having to do with anything religious. It's kind of just like she says, I think they just like celebrate like the harvest, really.
It kind of reminds me a little of how like this might be a weird comparison, but like how certain religious holidays, like Christmas, for instance, have like in America have been so like
Yeah.
Americanized, where like you go to other countries and like it's pretty like they'll have like the big mass and like
Right.
stuff like that. It's like
Right.
very religious and it's like here we're just like, okay, like I mean, insert like some people still celebrate the religious aspects, but like my family never I didn't grow up religious. So
Yeah.
like it's just like, yeah, Christmas tree presents, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. It kind of feels similar-ish
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like they'll celebrate it because it's like, okay, it's a day to actually like not be depressed about the state of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
world, right?
Exactly.
But like we're not gonna celebrate like any gods or
Right.
anything like that.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
but the other thing that's interesting is it gets mentioned, I don't think I wrote the quote down, but that normally the summer court is the one that,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Alice says on page 221.
Yeah.
The main celebration used to be at the summer court, but things are different.
Mm,
And so you kind of have to wonder what's different. Why aren't they the ones throwing this big old
right.
bash, right? And the couple things we do know about the summer court is that Alice is from the summer court.
Right.
She fled after her sister and brother-in-law got murdered
Right.
there. And then the only other reference we really have for it is the blue fairy that died in Tamlin's manor.
Yep.
So something
Something's
is
going on over there.
not right in the summer court.
You know, if you put your first read cap on, I feel like
Yeah.
all I can think of is like it's got to be something to do with the blight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that it doesn't have to do with the reason why she fled the summer court,
Right.
right? So clearly
Yeah.
something has gone cuz like literally she says like fled and like her
Yeah.
family like she had to like save her nephews. So there's
Yes.
clearly something that has happened over there. Um and it's sad, but it's also, like, kind of it gives me this other little moment of, like, really appreciating, like, Tamlin because he's giving these fae a way to still do their celebration in, like, a
Yeah.
safe space, and so,
Yeah.
you know, it makes me really, like, appreciate him. It also, you know,
Yeah.
Alice, I just feel like there's just, like, so much more to Alice, like,
Yeah.
because it's just there's a lot you can just tell there's a interesting kinda history there.
I love
I know,
Alice
I
so
love Alice
much.
too. Feyre's reaction to hearing Tamlin's voice when he comes back is just,
Yeah.
like, so precious, right? Because she's
So,
just
oh my
like
god.
and, like, I wrote down, I was like, "Tamlin has turned into her world." Like, he is, like, her
Yeah.
everything. Like, she can't
Yep.
stand that he slept somewhere else. She can't stand that she doesn't really like, yes, she's comforted that Lucian told her that he's alive, but it also probably made her more stressed out. And this whole moment of her, like, running, you know, she could, like, relief sent my chest caving in, you know, like, she's, like, rushing to them, and then I love, like, Alice just being like, "Nope, I gotta get you ready. I gotta get you ready
Yeah.
for the solstice, girl. You cannot go to them yet. I gotta put you in this, like, pretty dress, and we gotta we gotta get you all dolled up first, girl."
I love when Alice wrangles
Me
her.
too. Me
Like,
too.
but one thing in this dressing scene, as well as, like, what you had said about, like, the retirement, uh, thing that you said,
Mhm.
it just kinda and I think I may have mentioned this a few weeks ago, but it's really, like, hitting now. This whole, like, Feyre being in the spring court, this feeling like eternal spring and, like, whatnot, and especially, like, this moment of, like, again, like we said, becoming and, like, she's realizing she is beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Which I'll get to the quote in a sec. It kind of weirdly reminds me of the movie Dirty Dancing because, like, that takes place in this, like,
Yes.
it's set during the 60s when, there used to be these resorts that, people used to go to. I know there's the one in Dirty Dancing, fun fact, is a specifically Jewish resort in
Yeah.
the Catskill
Yep.
Mountains. Like, that baby, the main character in that movie, is a similar age to Feyre, and she's, like, having this moment of becoming where she's, like, realizing she is a woman and she has sexual desire and, like, she's wearing these, like, really I mean, Jennifer Grey in that movie is such a fucking piece, like,
Oh,
truly, I think the hottest she has ever been,
dude.
but in this way that's, like, her I was really paying attention this time watching it to, like, her, costumes of, like, going from, like, kinda innocent to, like, these, like, sexier, but not in a, like,
Overt.
super se it's
Yeah.
like exactly, it's
Yeah.
like, the little, like, button up that's, like, tied, up with the shorts and, like, it's showing, like, she is becoming this woman, and I
Yes.
feel like Feyre is having a very similar moment on
Totally.
page 223 because Alice has dressed her now in this beautiful I think it's like a cornflower blue dress, I think she says. She has this great quote on page 221 where she finally looks at herself after Alice has dressed her in this dress and done her hair. And she says, I might have felt childish with it on, but in the months I'd been there, my sharp bones and skeletal form had filled out a woman's body. I ran my hands over the sweeping soft curves of my waist and hips. I had never thought I would feel anything but muscle and bone, which is just like such a beautiful moment. And I feel like a lot of us, who were born into female bodies, like we go through this of like, especially if you grew up kind of like bony. Like I grew up very, very bony. I had a thyroid issue growing up and just was skin and bones for most of my childhood. And I remember when I first got like hips and like boobs, I was like, whoa, like, and it really is this moment it's so psychological, I feel, where
Mhm.
like it made me realize like, oh, before I really did feel
Yeah.
childish and now I feel like a full adult
Yeah.
now that my body is like caught up,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel Fair is having like a very similar, not obviously like we shouldn't be completely beholden to our bodies in
Totally.
terms of like,
Yeah.
what makes us feel adult and what doesn't.
Totally.
But like I do feel,
Yeah.
we are living in these
Yeah.
bodies and that is important, and how you feel about your
Yeah.
body and where it's at in terms of like adulthood, kind of making that transition from
Yeah.
childhood to adulthood. I think that is really important. And she's having that moment. And like, especially like getting to be in this beautiful dress,
Yeah.
and like it's just it's
It
lovely.
really
I
is.
love it.
It really is. And I was called Stick. That was my nickname
Yeah.
when I was a kid. So I know exactly,
Really?
yeah, you know?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Which is like, so I completely resonate with this too, where like one of the first times, you get to see yourself in this, yeah, this more like adult way. And like, the female body is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't necessarily need really big, Ariel and I are not like wildly curvy women. Like we're
No.
not. But even I would say the small amount of curves that like we have, like I love so much. And I
Yeah.
just think like
Same.
you don't need this crazy Coke bottle shape to feel this womanly moment, right? Like
Yeah.
any kind of addition to yourself and the sort of just like adult natural body fat that we gain is beautiful. And
Yeah.
I love that. And so I'm with you. I completely resonate with this moment. I think many people can resonate with this moment in every kind of way, where it's like when you
Yeah.
first see yourself in an outfit that really complements the gender and sexuality that you feel. It's a very
Yeah.
empowering moment. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love this for her. And a lot of this for Feyre is just that she's finally nourished. Like this body was there. It just
Yeah.
she couldn't eat enough. And so really
Right.
what it is, it's this celebration of health, I think.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's really, really beautiful. But also it's this
Yep.
combination of she's already kind of thinking these particular ways about Tamlin. She's already had these sort of like sexual thoughts about him. And then to sort of look at your body and kind of be like, yeah, like, look at me. Like
I'm banging.
it's a very empowering moment. And
Yeah.
my favorite thing is she comes down and the minute Lucian sees her, he's
Yeah.
fucking Cauldron boil me. She looks positively
Yeah.
fey. Like he whistles at her. And it's one of the few times that I'm like, yeah, you get whistled at, girl. Like, I'm not
Well,
the
because it's a
biggest,
friend.
exactly. It's a friend.
Yeah.
But I love this moment. It's also like, it's another little Cauldron moment, which we love, obviously.
Yeah.
And but Cauldron boil me. I like forgot that was a phrase a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, I need to start using this in my everyday.
Right.
And then she looks positively fey. It's interesting. There's a little bit of like a double-edged sword here, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Because on one end, we all know the Fae are beautiful and like
Yes.
wildly beautiful, right?
Yeah. Like
So like
insane.
insane. And so I think it's Lucian's way of being like, you look gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
But
Yeah.
on the other end, you're kind of like, bro, you couldn't have just like
Yeah.
said she looked really pretty. Like you didn't have to,
I
which
know.
maybe is like very Lucian. It's like very like, I'm gonna give you a
It's so
compliment, but
Lucian.
it's gonna be a little like, it's gonna be a little double-edged. Like it's not
Yeah.
gonna be full bore, which I guess makes complete sense because it's it's Lucian. But also I kind of love too how like she comes down and they start talking and she has this little thought because Tamlin says she looks lovely. And she says, like, was disinclined to let him see how much his words or voice or sheer well-being impacted me. Not yet. In this chapter, we get a lot of these little things from Feyre that it's just her getting like, it's this slow climb up this staircase of like
Yeah.
letting herself really admit how she feels and getting more comfortable with actually showing Tamlin that she feels that way as well.
Yes.
And I think a lot of
Yeah.
this chapter is just this like slow climb that brings
Yeah.
us to the end where they're, dancing and like all this stuff.
Well, I think the big sort of like theme of this chapter is like it's letting her hair down and
Yes.
like she's even told, I think it's
She
Lucian
literally
who said
says
who
that. Yeah.
yeah, I think Lucian explains to her like what the solstice is, being the longest night of the year. He says it's a time when everyone can take down their hair and simply enjoy being a fairy, not high fae or fairy, just us and nothing else. So it's like it is a moment of like authenticity, I
Yes.
think, for everyone, which, if you know, it's funny, like I actually listeners, I practice tarot reading and have for many years. And there is a card called the sun in the tarot. And like whenever you get that card, it's about shining a light on whatever question you're asking. And it's like kind of considered, I would say, like the card most associated with authenticity, right? And
Mm.
like just getting to be yourself, which I love. There's also, in astrology, like Leo, which I'm a Leo, it is ruled by the sun, and like Leos are known for their authenticity. Like that's a theme of Leo. So
Yeah.
like the solstice being a night where you let your hair down and you just get to be yourself makes so much sense. And like I think that is like the beauty of this chapter is we really for I would say the first time get to see Feyre be herself with like no inhibitions,
Yeah.
right? Like she is not holding back, and I think this is really the first time she's ever done that kind of in her life.
Yeah. Honestly, I completely agree. I mean, I think just be like I think that's why there's this slow build for her to get
Yeah.
there because it's like she's
Yeah.
discovering what it is. I mean, I think a lot of her time at the spring court is her slowly learning like how to experience joy and how to
Yes.
experience it without any kind of guilt. I think that's even why she kind of just goes for it with the fairy wine a little bit because I think it's kind of her little like mental way of just kind of giving herself permission to just like
Yeah.
fucking just go. And
Yep.
like she is I'm sorry, but she is like hot to trot. Like literally
Oh yeah.
like cuz she has they're talking about solstice, right? They're walking out and I also love too cuz it's like we're getting the like fairy dance pagan party kind of finally,
Yeah.
right? Like the first one was like a ritualistic party and like this one is the
Yes.
like fairy dancing in the fields with the flowers in their hair. Like, like
Yes.
this is that party, which like
Yeah.
love. Absolutely love that. But I
Yeah.
love as they're like walking,
Vibes are impeccable.
vibes are high, impeccable. They are happy. They are just fun springtime gallivanting about is like
Yes.
how I picture it. And cuz he even, he's Lucian says like, yeah, there's dancing, excessive drinking, and dallying, he added with a wicked grin. And the following line is indeed, every brush of Tamlin's body against mine made it harder to avoid the urge to lean into him entirely, to smell him and touch him and taste him. Girl is
Like
she is fucking ready for this party, bro. Like she is ready.
yes.
And that's actually like I think that's another reason why the fairy wine comes into play for her because I think she needs that little confidence blanket. She needs that little
Yeah.
boost.
Yes. So the fairy wine is actually when she drinks it, that's my directing moment
Mm,
for this week. And as we established in this chapter, like Lucian tells Feyre, like, I wouldn't drink that if
yeah,
I were you. And she ignores him because she thinks, what? It's just wine.
right.
Like, how bad can it
Yeah.
be? And then she drinks it and she says, it was like a million fireworks exploding in me, filling my veins with starlight, right? And to me, similar to whatever it was that I did last week, which of course I'm now forgetting,
Glamour. It was the glamour coming off.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was the glamour coming off. It again feels like microdosing on shrooms.
Yeah.
Like, and funny enough, in this, because like I read this chapter ahead of time and I did my notes
Mm,
for it. So maybe it was just in my mind when we were recording the episode, but it again reminds me of that scene in specifically the Maypole scene in Midsommar,
yeah, yeah.
where like in that movie, the main character Danny has a drink. It's not fairy wine, but it kind of almost looks like it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, we don't know what it is. It clearly has some kind of hallucinogenic in it, and she does this maypole dance with all the women in this, what we find out to be a cult.
Yeah.
And it's very like the techniques that Ari Aster uses in that movie are so fucking cool because
Mhm.
it's like swirly, but not too swirly, if that makes
Yep.
sense. Like it's you can tell. I'd be so curious. I should look this up actually and see if like there's been articles written on it. But like there's this sort of like almost like optical illusion going on where like the background isn't like totally in sync with the
Yep.
foreground. And that's what this moment of Feyre, when she first especially drinks the fairy wine, it feels like to me.
Yeah.
It also reminds me, now that I think about it, of the scene in Moulin Rouge when they all drink absinthe
Yeah.
and the green fairy comes down. She's like, I'm the green fairy. And like there's literally fireworks
Yep.
exploding. So I feel like I would do some kind of a combo of those. I would definitely use those two movies as comps
Yeah.
for this scene. And like definitely not have it as like hyper, as Moulin Rouge is very overwhelming to the senses.
Yeah,
which is
it's
part of
pretty
why I love it.
overstimulating, which is awesome.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, it's a little like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a little too much for this.
Like
I
you don't
think
like. I feel like in that experience, you like don't know if it's good or bad, like almost the entire time.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
both, honestly, in that movie. So, but yeah, I think I wouldn't do it like as extreme as like a Baz Luhrmann production, but a little closer to Midsummer. This entire
Oh,
chapter would probably be one of the chapters I'd want to direct
yeah.
most in this, like, especially, we still don't know the status of what like, I definitely think it's going to get adapted at
Oh
some
yeah,
point.
I think so too.
It still could be a series. It could also be a movie. We don't know. If it does become a series, like this is one of the episodes that'd be so fucking fun to direct.
Totally. I love this this fairy wine moment because yeah, like to me, I kind of feel like I almost imagine this fairy wine as like kind of being like a little bit of like a like champagne mixed
Ooh.
with like a little bit of shrooms. Like that's
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
what I feel like the vibe is. And I'm saying that because like I've never done Molly, I've never done ecstasy,
Yeah.
I've never done those things, so I can't quite like use those as like
Compare.
comparisons, but kind of
Yeah.
how she ends up feeling like she's like a part of the earth and like all these kinds of things. It
Yeah.
feels very shroomy.
It
Yeah, and like
does.
I've
It's very connected to nature.
yeah, yeah,
Like
and like I've only and like she gets really giggly and like I've microdosed and
yeah.
I always get very giggly. Yeah, you feel
Same.
kind of like rubbery. But like also with that vibe that like obviously I don't drink anymore, but I feel like what I used to love about champagne, and I think one of the reasons why I never actually ever went really bad on champagne is that there's
Yeah.
just such like a fun bubbly vibe to it, right? And
It's effervescent.
exactly. And so I kind of imagine that that's what this like drink is. Like that's kind of the feeling,
Completely.
but in a faster acting way, right?
It's like
Yeah,
immediate
because
versus
like
like it
baby
takes like
girl
an
takes
hour to
2
kick in.
glasses and she is liberated, right? Like she's like giggling at Lucian, right? Which is why Lucian's like,
Yes.
fuck. Also, just a little callback to one of our other episodes, Lucian does indeed have a glamour because when she drinks the fairy wine,
Yes.
she literally is giggling at him because he's so fucking pretty. And she tells
Yeah.
him she's gonna paint him, and he's just like, Cauldron, boil and fry me. Like he's just like, fuck. Like all right, she's drunk. God damn it,
She's such like it reminds me of like my freshman year of
Right,
college,
right.
like drunk sorority girl, first time
Yeah,
drinking. Like it's just like very silly, but like
but like
in not
safe,
an annoying way. In a safe, yeah, in
safe,
a
and
safe
yeah,
way.
not an annoying way, in a very just
Yeah.
like
The party's at the sorority
yeah,
house, not the frat
yeah,
house, you know?
yeah. It feels very just like baby girl's
Yeah.
just like it's that magical feeling I feel that many women get when they're getting ready to go to the party.
And yeah, and they're like pre-gaming.
Exactly. When you're with your
Yeah.
girls, getting ready.
You got some Beyonce
You got some
playing,
Beyonce
like
playing. Like honestly, I just started thinking about how when we were getting ready for your bachelorette, like we were just like
um
we were just feeling it. We were drinking wine and we were like dancing and putting on our makeup and like we had
my
the
sister was like smoking her
she was smoking
bong
her
in the
bong in the
bathtub.
bathtub and like we had her sister and I had like put up all these dick balloons, but then we also had vagina straws because Ariel is
That's right.
bisexual, so we wanted to like show all facets
Represent.
of who she is. The straws were really weird too, but they
They
were
were really
really incredible. I still have mine, by the way. Yeah,
amazing.
but so just that feeling when you're just like I'm just gonna dance and just like
Yeah.
have fun and do my thing. And
She's very millennial drunk,
yes,
I think is what
exactly.
it
It's very
is.
millennial
Yeah.
drunk. It's very like, put your hands in the air, or like
Yep.
Usher's playing in the background. You're getting
Yes.
ready. And this is also funny because like right before all of this, right? She's entering the
Yep.
party. We somehow lose Tamlin, which like
Right.
this little section of her like not knowing where Tamlin is just like, what the fuck, bro? Like she came to the party with
Yeah.
you and you just like leave. And like, and she has this kind of awkward moment, right? Where she's in line, she's getting food, and she literally says, like, I'm trying my best not to look like I was some human plaything of his. And so
Yes.
she's very, because even before this, when she is still with Tamlin and she's walking around, Tamlin does this pretty hot moment, right? Where like they leave them alone because he's like growling at all these people. Like,
Yeah.
don't look at my human lady and don't judge her.
Mhm.
I'm gonna growl at you. You know,
Bite your head off.
which like, I don't know, as much of like independent feminists as Ariel and I are, I think
Yeah.
we do love a kind of claiming moment. Like it's
Oh,
pretty hot, honestly.
look, there's a reason aside from obviously, like, the setting and, like, the fact that these are fantasy
Yes.
characters. I feel like there's, like, this, like, dual meaning to romantasy, right? It's both, like, we're talking about literal fantasy, but also, like, a lot of what happens in fantasy novels, I feel, for most fantasy readers, is not stuff they would actually, like, do in real life. It is truly, like, their internal
Yes.
fantasy, and that's what makes it hot,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, some stuff, sure, yeah, I'd love,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
like, most of it, I'm like, "Yeah, no, no, I wouldn't actually want this in
In
real
real
life."
life, no, but this whole concept of
Yeah.
like, because I think we're all putting ourselves in Favor's position,
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's this only human walking around with the High Lord at this party that has, she even kind of brings up that like now that her glamour's gone, like she can see all of these creatures, and she's getting a lot of attention. And I
Yeah.
just love, I mean, and it's a very small blip in the chapter, but I do love that it's like it's appeasing our little insecure party goer self of like the person that
Yes.
she's with is like kind of showing up and standing up for her, but then fucker just like disappears somehow. And so Feyre proceeds
Right.
to have all the desserts, which I'm just like, get a girl. Like
Get it, girl.
she's
Yeah.
like, I love how she just this party, she's just like, fuck it, Imma just do my thing. Because she
Yeah.
even says that, like, she doesn't mind the solitude. She's, like, sitting under a tree, like, watching people
Yeah.
dancing, eating her desserts. Like, I'm just like, "Yes, queen. Like,
I
I love
love
this for you."
that.
And then we have the fairy wine. And so I just feel like she's already kinda, like, showing that at this party, while, yes, it would be nice if because she even says how, like, Lucian's really good at, like, not being there when she needs him.
Right.
And so she's just kind of like, okay, I'm by myself, the only mortal, but you know what? I'm gonna just eat my desserts and think of how am I gonna paint all these cool fairies? How am I gonna do all this
Oh.
stuff? And then yeah, this fairy wine moment is just so fun because like we descend into the drug a little bit of like
Oh.
the way she's talking about the music, the way she's like kind of like really letting it go. And like the one thing I do think is interesting to note is that
Yeah.
before she does drink the fairy wine, she literally says, I would indeed let my hair down today, let caution be damned. Forget the
Yes.
blight hovering at the edges of the court, threatening my high lord and his lands.
My high lord.
And this is before she drinks any of the fairy wine. And I just think this is a
Yeah.
really important thing to note. Feyre
Yes.
is already in this headspace before she
Yeah.
drugs herself, basically. Like she's
Yeah.
already, because I think some people get a little caught up on the fairy wine of like that's why
Yes.
she kind of feel whatever. Guys, she's already there.
She
My
is. And
high lord.
it's been made pretty clear before too, I
Oh yeah.
think. Like, she is into Tamlin. What isn't there, like, a phrase that's like, "Sober thoughts become like drunk actions,"
Yes.
or something like
Yeah.
that? Like, which, I mean, kind of going back to what we were saying about, like, feeling like this fairy wine is like a combo of, like, champagne and
Yes.
shrooms because she becomes, like, one with the world.
Yes.
So on page 225, she says, "I wasn't fairy, but I was part of the earth, and the earth was part of me, and I would be content to dance upon it for the rest of my life." Which, like, again, if you have ever taken
Yep.
shrooms in particular, but I'm gonna say probably not that I would know, like, other natural
Yeah.
hallucinogenics, like, there is this, like, I don't know if this has been scientifically proven or not, but if you know anything about fungi, they have like a whole system of like communication.
Yeah.
Like it's like a network.
Yeah.
Like the mushrooms know the
Yeah,
secrets,
dude.
right?
Yeah.
And so like my little like theory is like maybe like I don't know, they're showing you something about the world when you like take
Hey,
shrooms.
man.
Like that's just what I like to believe. Don't know if it's true, full disclosure, but it feels like that's what's happening to Feyre
Yeah.
in this moment for sure.
Totally.
Also, if you know anything about like, just like fairy lore and
Yes.
mushrooms, like they're very like
They
connected.
are.
But then so she's like
Ugh.
tripping out, right?
Ugh.
She's dancing,
Ugh.
right? And she says, one of the musicians looked up from his fiddling and I halted. Sweat gleamed on the strong column of his neck as he rested his chin upon the dark wood of the fiddle. He rolled up his sleeves of his shirt, revealing the cords and muscles along his forearm. He had once mentioned that he would have liked to be a traveling minstrel, if not a warrior or high lord. Now, hearing him play, I knew he could have made a fortune from it. Which, like, we've already talked about how Corinne and I are just a sucker for a rolled up
sleeve.
There's just something like
There's just
unbearably sexy about that. And I don't know why.
don't know why.
You know what? Okay. I think I figured it
Lay it
out.
on me,
So like
please.
I'm having this like epiphany moment. Okay, like how like up until like the last couple centuries
Okay.
really, it was like scandalous for women to show their ankles.
Yes.
And like I feel like all women have been like, what is it about ankles? Like what makes men horny
Yeah.
about an ankle, right?
Yeah.
This is our version
Yes.
of
Yes.
ankles. Is like women who are, or maybe even do like people who are attracted to men, like when they just roll up their sleeve, like, and it's not like 3/4 sleeve,
Yeah, when it
it's
just
like
hits like right. Oh my
the
god.
crook of the
Ugh.
arm. There's just and especially if it's like a white
Oh.
shirt specifically. I don't know what it is, but like it feels like very like I feel like all of us like millennials, it's like the Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean shit,
Yeah.
like with the Will Turner,
Yeah.
like I don't know what, but like it just is hot.
I also wonder too if it's sort of that it's because it's this dressed down version of something dressed up,
Yes, it's a little
right?
forbidden,
It's
right?
this like in between zone, and like because
Yeah.
I'll like it's 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 like when you start getting that age where you're going to dances, and so you see your
Yeah.
guy friends like dressed up for the first time, and you're just kind of like,
Yes.
oh, okay. And then like
Yeah.
after the dance, everyone has their jackets off and they've all rolled up their sleeves, and so it's this weird in between where you're sort of like you're dressy, but like you had to loosen up because you're just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, yeah. I still, and what's wild, what's really really wild. My partner dresses like this like every day. Think about it. Jeff is in button
So you get it
ups
all the time. Yeah.
constantly and rolled up sleeves. And like it is astounding to me to this day. I'll be in a room and this man will walk into a room and I'll just be like, oh my God.
The romance is still
It
alive.
is still very alive, but it's just so funny because it's like I forget that I get this like all the time. And like I'm so spoiled. Or like on our Santa Cruz trip for one of the dinners, he wore like a crisp white shirt. And I was just like, I don't know if we can go to dinner yet. Like this is just like it was just like it was like a little too much for me. I
get a little inappropriate
yeah.
in your mind there.
Yeah.
But not
there's
only is
something.
he
Oh, but then he's
Oh,
sweaty and he's playing.
sweating.
He's a musician. I also am such a sucker
He's
for
playing.
musicians. Like
I
my
know.
most common denominator of
know.
my partners have been musicians. Jeff is a musician.
That's
like
right.
I gravitate towards them. And so this idea of him just being like, so he's sweating, he's caught up in the music, and it's a
He's rocking her world quite literally. Like
literally.
whatever the Faye version of rock and roll is.
Ugh.
But yeah, he like and then so he's sweating with his rolled up sleeves and his fucking fiddle.
Oh
Then
my God.
She says, he gave me a feral smile as I began to dance in place before him.
Oh my God.
This is like such a like for people new to romantasy, like you're gonna see not just in this series or Sarah J. Maas's series, but like I would say every fucking series I've read at least that's romantasy. the male romantic leads
Yes.
inevitably at some point are described as looking at their partner in a feral
Yeah.
way, and it is just like, oh.
Yeah, which, like, we have gotten once already, right, when they were at the
Yes,
Glen
and
in
we
the
talked about
Starlight
it.
Pool, but,
Yeah.
like, this one felt different to me.
Well, because she's dancing, I think, and, like, I mean, he says, "Dance, Feyre," and then she does, and, like, there's just something about I think what it is, like, we've seen Feyre create her art
Yeah,
before, right? And it's very solitary because she's a
yeah,
painter. Now we're seeing Tamlin create his own art
mhm,
with music, and it's a very, like, community-based shared
yes,
experience, right? And she's getting to partake in this art by
yep.
dancing, and there's just something really fucking hot
It
about
is,
that.
it's really hot. It's also just I know it's something we've already talked about before on the pod, but, like, seeing someone you have a crush on be really good at
Yeah.
something,
I
it's
mean,
really hot. It's
yeah.
so attractive, and seeing them kind of be, like, lost in it and not really have any, like, any folk like, before he clocks that she's there too,
Yeah.
just, like, seeing them be so in it and have nothing to do with
Yeah.
you at all. It's entirely their own joy and their own thing, and they're just really fucking good at it, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's so sexy. But then when they're also aware that they're good and they're, like,
Yeah.
aware that it's kind of attractive, it's, like, annoyingly hotter somehow,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's partially what his little smile is to her of just like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
you know
you
I'm
wanna
good.
dance to this, don't you?" And I love how he says to Lucian and he's just staring at her, he doesn't stop staring at her, right? And he's just
Yeah.
like, "Go enjoy yourself," you know? And Lucian fled, and she was like she yells like, "I don't need a keeper." And Tamlin goes, "No, you don't." Oh my god.
Oh,
I
just
can't fully
sploosh.
describe why that that quote when I read it this time, I was like, "Oh my god," like, "No, you don't," but then he does, like, command her to do something right after that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what
it's
it
a little
feels
push and
like is,
pull, a little push and pull, a little
if
sub dom, but, like, in, like,
ugh,
a gentle way. Mm.
it feels like this like, if you've ever read, like, any Regency era, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
romantic
yeah, yeah,
books, like Bridgerton, like, it's the moment when, like, somehow they've managed to get the girl's chaperone
yeah.
to, like, leave,
Yep,
you know what I
yep,
mean? And, like, she's alone with the guy, he's like, "You don't need a
yeah,
chaperone." Like, it's like I mean, this is literally the reason that
that
they
they
had
do. Yeah,
chaperones, but,
yeah,
let's fucking go
yeah.
like, we wouldn't be reading this book if, we needed
Yeah,
them?
exactly,
So
exactly. Yeah. When she's like, "I sashayed over to him, my fairy lord, my protector and warrior, my friend, and danced before him." And, like, yes, Feyre is a little drunk, she's a little high,
yes,
but I feel for some reason that line for me feels very, like
liberating.
yes. It
Yeah,
feels like it's Feyre really just, like, letting go and letting herself admit all the feelings that she has and what he has done for her and that it's okay
yeah.
for her to feel this way about
I
him.
think the key to the scene really is she chose to drink the fairy wine. She was, like, not forced by anyone, she was actually told, "Don't drink
Yeah.
it," and she was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it," and I think that's the key, and like you said before, like, it was before she got drunk high that she called him her high
Yep.
lord, right? Like these were thoughts she was already having, and the fairy wine is just kind of making it so that way, like the wall she's built up, understandably, because of all the hardship she's gone through, but like Feyre has had a tendency, I think, to build up a little too many
Yeah.
walls, right? Like she hasn't been able to let herself go and be herself, which is what this night is all
Yeah.
about. And so I think it really is this moment of like, because I think it's fair to bring up like this could be interpreted
Yeah.
or become in a different book a very dangerous scene,
Yeah.
right? Like, and in the real world,
Yeah.
right? Like I gave it like the example of like a girl at like a sorority
Right.
girl, right? Like there are very real world situations where like it becomes dark,
Right.
but this is not
No.
one of them, right? Like she is consented with her full chest. And like
Yes.
what does end up happening, it's nothing like
No.
that isn't it like they make out,
Yeah.
right? Like they dance and they make out.
Yeah.
It's nothing crazy, right? So no, I think it like the intentions are very pure. I think it's very clear.
Yes.
And like the fact that it starts with like music and dancing,
Yeah.
like I think it's so like when he gets up
Ugh.
and like he stops playing
Well,
to dance with her.
but then he does the, like, fiddle solo in front of her before he
Oh,
gets up, which is
yes,
just
showing off.
it's just
He's
the
peacocking.
for me, that feels very, like like like, this may be a very personal experience, I don't know, but, like, I had a lot of friends in bands, and we'd go to a
Mhm.
lot of garage shows, and there would always be, like, jamming afterwards. And I just, like,
Yeah.
imagine if you're in that situation and, like, the guy you had like, one of my dreams was that, like, there was always one dude I had a crush on, and one of my dreams was
Yeah.
that he would start, like, playing, like, just for me,
Right, right. Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this just feels like that moment, and, like, 'cause she even says, like, "The music was just for me. It was a gift."
Yeah.
Like, that was Tamlin, as we have seen, is not great with his words. He's not great
Right.
wooing, and, like, this was his
It's
way. This was his way of gifting and kind of showing her that how
yeah.
he feels about her, but yeah, then he stops playing.
And he spins her round and
Mm,
round for a while, but then he says, "I wanna show you something better."
yeah.
And she says, "I stopped objecting," which I'm like, "You when were you objecting, first off?"
Well
Like, I haven't seen you object once here.
yeah, I think it's because they had stopped dancing, right?
Oh,
And then that's when she realizes that, like, the sun's about to come up, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And he's
right.
like, "Time goes by faster when you're on fairy wine." And she does the
Yeah.
girl thing of like, "I'm not drunk." Like
Play another one, DJ.
yeah, exactly. And she's like, "Oh, they're starting again." And then it says, "He leaned in close, his breath caressing the shell of my ear as he whispered, 'I want to show you something better.'"
And he whisks her away.
Yeah, I think she's going to
And
stop objecting when that
yeah,
happens. 100%. So yeah, so he takes her to this, like, meadow, basically.
he loves a
He loves
meadow,
a meadow.
this
I mean,
guy.
he's the High Lord of the Spring Court. Of course he loves a
Yeah.
meadow, like, duh. But yeah, so it says, "Then from the opposite side of the meadow, dozens of shimmering shapes floated out across the grass, little more than mirages of moonlight. That was when the singing began. It was a collective voice, but in it existed both male and female, two sides of the same coin, singing to each other in a call and response. I raised a hand to my throat as the music rose, and they danced, ghostly and ethereal. They waltzed across the field, no more than slender slants of moonlight. What are they? Will-o'-the-wisps, spirits of air and light," he said softly, "come to celebrate the solstice." And then he says to dance. He says, "Dance with me, Feyre." Oh my God. And then they
So
proceed to
beautiful.
dance together in this field. Like, I mean,
It's so magical.
the imagery of this, first of all, is just absolutely incredible, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I would actually kind of like what you said about this night in general. This night in
Yeah.
general, from a sound perspective, would have so much to play with
So
because
much.
it's a lot like Fire Night, where
Yeah.
the drumming goes on the entire time. This one,
Right.
it's the fiddle, which I think
Yeah.
it's a very purposeful instrument choice, I think, from Sarah J. Maas, because
Yeah.
drums have a very sexual,
Sexual.
sensual, like, kind of like heaviness to them.
Well, it's like a heartbeat,
Exactly.
right?
And the fiddle is much more, not that, the fiddle obviously can be very sensual.
Oh, yes.
But it's a much more, like, light and airy, like, it is kind of
Yeah.
what if I were to think of an instrument that I would assume a fairy would play, I would think a flute,
Yeah.
a lute, or
Yes.
a fiddle. Like, those would be the
Yeah.
sort of instruments that I would, like, group with them. And so I think
Yes.
the instrument choice is very purposeful, I think, from Sarah, because it
Yeah.
immediately puts you in the sort of lighter, very fun, very folk dance space.
Yes.
And so already I think this night has a lot of really beautiful, maybe not necessarily sound designy moments, but I would definitely say that, like, your composer is going to have a really good time trying to figure out
Yes.
this music. And I'm imagining very folky, very maybe even like little Celtic kind of vibes. You know what I mean? Very maple,
Very
very kind
much.
of those kinds of things. But I imagine this moment, I don't really know what other way to say this, but like kind of like church like.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah, I get it.
you know?
The acoustics.
Yes, and I also don't know if I'm just, like, spoiled, but, like, Ariel knows this, but I grew up my mom was the music minister for, the church that we went to when I was growing up, and my mom always did the music for one of the masses. So I grew up singing in church choir, and no matter where I am on my religious journey, the music my mom chose was always so fun to sing. It was always really beautiful. And mom always really liked the kind of younger style vibey songs, but she also had a really good ear in choosing like very like ethereal sort of moments.
Ooh, yeah,
And this one to me, especially since it's like call and response, like have you heard that song? It's all in French. Oh my god, I've sung it before in choir. I should really, but it's the like da, 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 mm.
no.
And it's these 2
Oh,
voices. Yeah, it's called the flower duet. So not quite as like that kind of has like an old-timey waltz vibe to it. But
yeah.
what's really beautiful when 2 voices sing it is, it's a soprano and it's an alto part, and it's this really
Mm,
beautiful layering on top of each other, and there is a moment where they're call and responding to each other, where they're not
yeah,
singing together, and
yeah,
that's really where my brain went, where, like, I imagine this as kind of a almost like Beauty and the Beast, tale as old as time moment
yep,
of this sort of kinda like an orchestral waltzy feel,
yeah,
but only doing it with these, like, 2 voices, right? And
yeah,
obviously it's more than that, it's a whole gaggle of them singing together, but I would want it to feel like that type of unison where you're aware it's a lot of voices, but it also almost slips into one voice, kind of the trick that I already thought of doing when the Serial was talking of having, like, these multiple voices,
yes,
but then having them kinda come together, and I
yeah,
just imagine it being I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this when you've listened to certain film scores, but, like, there's a vibe that happens sometimes where things can feel really grand, but also simple at the same time,
yeah,
and not to toot my own horn, but, on the score of, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is a film that I boom operated
yes.
on, I that score really makes me think of that. It's this
Mm,
very epic orchestral kind of sound, but not with a crazy amount of instruments, and so it feels
yeah,
grand while also feeling simple, and that's what I feel like
right.
this scene really, really could use.
I love that. One thing I'm actually really glad you going a little bit back to what you were talking about. I'm actually really glad you brought up like religion and like religious, like kind of church choir kind of stuff because like as someone who grew up very, very much not religious, to me, I think music has always felt like a very universally spiritual,
Yes.
religious kind of experience.
Yes.
Like, I know it may sound silly, but like by now, if you've listened to us this far, you know I love Taylor Swift, and I think one of the few like feelings of like a religious moment I've ever had was when I went to the Eras tour.
Yeah.
Like just hearing like I think it was like 70,000 people in SoFi Stadium like singing the same lyrics, or even like Florence and the Machine is my other favorite artist, like going to like I think been to 4 of her shows. Hers is a little more along the lines of like religion,
Yes.
spirituality, but like there is a very like spiritual feeling, and I think there being music in the scene that specifically comes from the earth.
Yes.
There is something very spiritual about that alone. And then when you pair it with the fact that this is the first definitive romantic moment. Like this is a fairy
Yes.
tale
Yes.
moment. Like there's a I think we've talked about this before about love being kind of this other like universally spiritual religious feeling.
Totally.
It all makes sense that it would come together in this moment.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say is in regards to the Will-o-Wisps. have you seen The Boy and the Heron, the last Miyazaki film that came off?
No.
There's these little like spirits in them called the Warawaras. They look like this. And this is what I picture the
Aw.
Will-o-the-Wisps. Yeah,
They kinda look like the forest spirits a little bit.
they do. Yeah, they very
Yeah,
much do from
cute.
Mononoke. Yeah,
Yeah.
like for those not watching on YouTube, they're like these little like basically plump white balls with like arms and like tiny little arms and legs and
Yeah.
these like big mouths and tiny eyes. Like they're the cutest little fuckers in the world. And like when I was rereading this scene, I just
That's
like
what you
pictured
pictured?
as the will o' the wisps. Yeah. Just like kind of tumbling around and like rolling and
And
just like
just
having a
singing.
ball.
Well, what's really
Yeah.
fun too is in Brave, in Pixar's movie Brave,
Oh
they
yeah.
actually have Will-o'-the-Wisps. Like,
Oh, and they're like called
they're
that in the movie. Oh
literally
my
called that
god.
in the film, and they're like these little blue. Yeah,
Yeah.
super cute. But yeah, that's what I
Oh.
picture. But like it's a very similar
Yeah.
like concept. Like it's a very similar
Yes.
idea.
Little
Exactly. But
spirits.
yeah, I just love this like overall of just like they're literally, and I think so much of this scene too, like just to like bring it a little bit back to the sound moment, like I wouldn't
Yeah.
want a lot of other sounds going on during this. Like I'm a pretty heavy,
Yeah.
I love Foley. I love having like the real sounds of what like, but I would purely want just the sound of these things singing to each other and no other
Yeah.
instruments, just their voices. Maybe there's one moment where like it kind of gets a little orchestral, like maybe we add an
Yeah.
instrument here or there, but I think most of all will just be these, because I think this moment it shows a lot here because she's just completely letting herself go, right? Like she was like, I
Yeah.
was as unburdened as a piece of dandelion fluff, and he was the wind that stirred me about the world. Like she,
Ugh.
I mean, it's just like I pretty much wrote in response to that, like, girl has it bad and she can let go. Like she,
Yeah.
like this dandelion fluff, they just go where the wind tells them to go,
Takes them.
right? And like that's
Yeah.
basically like she is completely falling in love and in trust, I would say, with this character,
Yeah.
with Tamlin. Like she is just completely letting it go. And then this like, they slow down and if any of you have been fortunate enough to experience this kind of like dancing moment where you sort of are just like holding your partner even though there's not really like there's still music happening but like you're really more just like holding each other,
Yeah.
and Tamlin's
Yeah.
just there like Feyre, he's just saying her name over and over again, and just because like he enjoys saying it, like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Well, and then what I love, we love a consensual king,
Oh,
especially after
yes.
he wasn't as consenting
Yeah.
before, but he asks to kiss her, right?
Mhm.
Which I think is so sweet. He says, "I'm thinking I might kiss you." And then she says, "Then do it," which is like love a ballsy
Yep.
gal. And he does. Uh, she describes it as his lips brushed on mine, testing, soft and warm. He pulled back a little. He was still staring at me, and I stared right back as he kissed me again, harder, but nothing like the way he'd kissed my neck. He withdrew more fully this time and watched me. And then she says, "That's it," which I think is
I
so
love it.
funny. Like, girl is horny,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and look, I think it redeems him a little bit.
Yes.
I think of like after that neck bite
Yes.
of like he realized that he did not ask for her consent for that.
Yep.
I think that's why he's so hesitant this time. And it's very sweet. It's kind of, I mean, this is their first like lip on lip
Yeah.
kiss, but it's like, their first kiss technically was that bite,
Yeah.
right? And so it's making up for it a little bit,
Yes.
and they basically kind of just continue to like canoodle as the sun comes up. And oh, the way it's described too, she says the sky shifted into periwinkle and the clouds filled with pink light. Then like a shimmering disk too rich and clear to be described, the sun slipped over the horizon and lined everything with gold. It was like seeing the world being born, and we were the sole witnesses. Like, if you've ever like witnessed a sunrise or even a sunset, I would say, with your partner. Like there's just something like they're already beautiful as it
Yeah.
is, but it's like a whole new experience being with someone that you're in love
Yeah.
with and like experiencing that.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think also, like, because, he has to, like, pull her away from that meadow, right, to come to this spot
yeah,
to see it, and he's like, they're making out, his hand is in her hair, he's grasping her waist, and, like, he's like, there's this, this, like, low, like, his, like, low growl when he, like, is telling her, like, "We should go," and she's like,
yeah,
"What?" And, it even says, like, "He kissed my cheeks, my neck, and finally my lips, and then I followed him into the trees," and she's like, "Wow." Like, they're just in
yeah,
this full romance, incredible moment, and, like, I get Feyre's a little bit of, like, "No, no, I don't wanna leave, like, the magic of this little spot," but then they go to this
yeah,
other spot to they go to, like, the top of the hill to watch this incredible sunrise that Ariel just read to us,
yeah,
and they're like, there's something about having the really hot makeout moment,
yeah.
and then immediately both, like, you move to a new location, but the magic is still happening between you, and
Yes.
then you
Yep.
sit and, like, they're, like, tucked into each other, and they're
Yeah.
watching this sunrise, like, there's a lot of, like, validating actions that are
Yep.
happening in this moment, and
Yeah.
it's just so wonderful and just makes your heart, like, just all fuzzy and
Well, and I
ooh.
think it's really solidified by what she says at the very
Mm,
end of this chapter. And this is like such a huge theme, as we've talked about before, in this book, especially, but I would say the overall series, where she tells Tamlin, "My father once told me that I should let my sisters imagine a better life, a better world. And I told him there was no such thing. I ran my finger over his mouth, marveling, and shook my head. I never understood because I couldn't believe it was even possible. I swallowed, lowering my hand until now."
mm,
And then at the very, very end of the chapter, she says that it was the happiest moment of her life. This moment. Like, this is such a significant scene
yep,
for in chapter for Feyre of just she's finally getting to experience unbridled happiness probably for the first time ever, because even before her family went into poverty or before her mom died, like there were just so many expectations, as we've talked about, placed on Feyre as being the daughter of someone who was super fucking wealthy, that I don't think she ever really got to be herself or even really knew who she was. And this, as beautiful as it is for obviously the romance, which
yeah,
we're all here
yeah,
for, I think the real deep down beauty is this is her first moment where she's
mm,
100% herself,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, she's basically saying that he has shown her that there is better out there, and that
Yeah.
there is a nicer life possibility for her and for her future,
Yeah.
and, like, that's huge. I mean, a little scary that it's attached
Yeah.
to a male,
Sure.
you know? But I think what I love about this chapter is, like, we're not thinking about any of that stuff right now. We're just enjoying this experience, and I think it's a really important thing for Feyre, and I think for a lot of us to, like,
Yeah.
remind ourselves to, like, enjoy the moment and, like,
Yeah.
be in the present and just appreciate. I mean, yeah, if there were, like, 25 red flags happening in this chapter, then, I think, like, maybe she should not, but there weren't. This was
Yeah.
a very
No.
safe space, like,
Green flag
yeah, I
chapter.
mean, she even talks about even before she ends up finding Tamlin, she's, like, dancing with these other fairies, and they're, like, so, like, supportive of her, and they're all, like, having
Yeah.
fun, and I just think, like, it's a safe space, so I think that also just allows her just to really, like, she just kinda lets herself shine, and I think she never knew she could do that before,
Yeah.
and I just think it's so beautiful because she even says, like, right before the happiest moment line, she says, "I let the dawn creep inside me, let it grow with each movement of his lips."
Yeah.
And I literally feel like it's like this active, like, Tamlin is actively giving her hope with, like, each kiss that he gives her. And
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
it's so it's so sweet, and it's just Like, what a perfect, like, to me, this sounds like the perfect prom. You
Truly,
know what I
this
mean?
yeah, I was gonna say similar to that, like, this feels like the embodiment of what summer solstice must feel like,
Yeah.
just like the warmth and the beauty and just getting to stay up so late, but you're, like, not tired because you're having the best time of your life, and,
Yeah.
like, it feels like endless
Yeah.
summer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Which ugh,
it's just so happy. Like, she deserves this moment. I think Tamlin deserves this moment. Like, I just think they
yeah.
both really deserve this experience, especially with all the shit that's been going on. And it just,
Oh, yeah.
like, baby girl gets to fucking dance her ass off and then have this really precious experience with this guy that she is wildly into, who is very obviously wildly into her. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
it's just such a fun chapter. I just love it so much.
It's a great chapter, and it's a great chapter before, the stuff we're about to go into is what we'll say. Next week, we're gonna do another single chapter, chapter 26, because those who have read the book, there is a lot to talk about
Yeah.
in this next chapter,
Yeah.
which I'm excited to get to
Yeah.
because it's a revealing
Yeah.
chapter. If you will, if you had fun with us on this summer solstice, we would love it if you subscribed, rated, and reviewed us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I cannot emphasize enough. It really helps get us out
Yeah.
there. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone in between about us. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. I'm going to try and remember, this is coming out quite a few weeks after we actually record this, but I'll try and remember to, on at least our TikTok story, to repost that TikTok that I mentioned at the top of this
Yeah.
episode about the crossover, because it's a really rad
Yeah.
TikTok. If you have some fun theories that you created, that you found, you can either DM us through those social media places, or you can email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com.
Yep.
We'd love to hear from you
Love to
guys.
hear from you guys. Wow. Just what a fun chapter. I just want to, like, live in this
Oh,
chapter. It's just
I
glorious.
know. I feel like all warm and
I
bubbly
know. I'm
inside,
all just like, just I love it. I love it. So yeah, enjoy this feeling.
Yes.
Cause yeah. Before I say anything more, as always, sweet, sweet friends, you're welcome.
And we're sorry.
Bye.
Bye.